it was difficult to circumnavigate Florida, and the map makers and the designers, the surveyors, couldn't get clear sight lines. They didn't really know, so they had to approximate it. But you can see that the territory of Florida extended through Louisiana, down to Mexico, and other maps of Florida go all the way up to Virginia almost. So we have a fantastic map collection. That's something people don't know about.
This is from 1706.
This is from 1706.
So how come you're not wearing gloves?
I'm not wearing gloves because as long as you don't eat a jelly donut right before looking at this or something messy, your fingers are actually far more sensitive than gloves.
Okay.
If you're wearing gloves, there's more of a chance you could tear or bend something. You do, however, have to wear gloves to look at photographs.
Okay. All right, so I see this beautiful book here.
Yes, this is
and
one
it's
of our
rare.
treasures. It's unique. There's no other like this.
Okay.
This was bought in celebration of our 3 millionth book, and it is a book of hours, meaning in very, very wealthy families, you would have had this book to consult as a prayer book at different hours of the day. If you're Catholic, the liturgy, the devotionals you said in the morning, the matins, in the afternoon, and the evening. Mm-hmm. But these were really excuses for families to show their wealth, and they would hire a famous painter. In this case, this is an anonymous illuminator. These are called illuminations, who worked in the style of Botticelli. And this beautiful kind of Italian interior of the home. It's this is in French, so presumably they're French landscapes.
This is all hand.
It's handwritten, so it's manuscripts, manoscritto, scritto a mano, and then it's painted, and there are little gold leaf illustrations.
And if someone were to buy this now, I mean, how much would this be? What's the value of this?
When these go on the market and they're this fine, people can end up paying close to $1 million for them. Wow. They're just very, very, very valuable, more than $1 million.
Well, Christina, I see something over there that I want to take a look at. Let's go. Christina, so this really caught my eye here. What is it?
This is a slave register. Look how beautiful it is. Yes. It's on vellum, which is sheepskin, written by hand very carefully, but it really documents something very dreadful and shameful. These are from records at a plantation in Tobago, the island of Tobago, near Trinidad. And every plantation who had slaves had to do this. They had to keep track, as if they were keeping track of their other property. Mm-hmm. And so you can actually see that they're tracking the names increased by births and the color, black, red, mulatto. They also would tell you who died, and it's very fascinating to researchers to be able to see what some of these slaves died of. They really, at the time, didn't realize many were dying of malnutrition or imported diseases after they'd come from Africa. But here it says, for example, under the idea of Obaya. The slaves had brought their religions, which were then became, through the years called voodoo, whatever. So Obaya was one of the gods. And
so under the death, it's under the idea of
Obaya, which probably this person was depressed and so depressed that they eventually died. And this is the excuse they found, that they died under the idea of Obaya.
What does this date back to?
This dates back to 1821.
1821, wow.
Yes, 1821. You can see the seals, the official seals here. So we show this to students a lot, and they find it's a very immediate way to see this tragedy depicted in a graphic way.
And I think also it's a great way for anyone who'd like to trace back their ancestry?
Absolutely, because we have several of these.
Okay. And you got anything else for us?
Yeah, sure. You could see some of the other brochures selling Miami, early postcards of Coral Gables sites. You could see there were not only postcards of, the Venetian pool, but also of buildings, because the buildings in Coral Gables were so beautiful that people living in the cold northeast would look and say, well, that's almost like being in Spain or Italy. Yeah. So it's a lot about selling. We have many, many postcards in our postcard collection. Early directories of Miami with people's names. So you can also track back your family history by looking at those.
And I heard you have a wonderful collection of books. Do you want to go take a look?
I would love to show you. Come on. Okay, so let me show you another example of the types of books we collect. Because we have such a good school of architecture here, we collect a lot of books on architectural history and also landscape design. This is a French book from 1828 showing the types of landscapes you could design in your enormous garden if you were very, very wealthy. So these are not only landscapes that people in France would have had, including the outbuildings. So people here might have a little gazebo, but back then you would have these enormous outbuildings. That might have been your central home.
What I'm surprised about is the massive size of the property.
Massive size.
It's incredible.
And some of them are for the new landowners in the Caribbean, the French islands, especially Martinique, etc.
This is all hand
colored.
Colored?
Yes,
Okay.
these are very beautiful steel engravings
Okay.
and hand colored, and it's quite rare, this book, and it's just enjoyable to look through. And then if you're a gardener and you just want to get some ideas, here it tells you what kind of plants you would be planting in these various gardens.
It's also nice because you could see what type of plants were popular at that point in time also.
So in your mind, or you could recreate a small version of one of these.
You know what is also interesting? I think it's this one here. Oh, where you could see the
sewing.
the sewing that goes into this. It's
the
all
book structure.
It's beautiful.
Very simple marbled paper. This would have been in a typical household who was able to afford books, would have had this kind of a paper on the binding. Not fancy, but this one was probably used so much that eventually the structure came loose and you could see what was normally hidden.
Okay.
And I want to remind people that the paper is in such good shape because it was made out of rag. So it wasn't made out of wood pulp, and our paper now deteriorates rapidly, but instead this was made out of rags. And sometimes you could even see a little piece of a petticoat, a little piece of lace that wasn't ground down fine enough.
Wow. Very nice.
So it's really fun, and there's always something I always discover something new when I look through this book.
And there's a book here which I actually smell before I see it.
Yes, anyone who went to Catholic Mass will recognize the smell as being incense. So that tells us this book was probably a treasured possession held in the family chapel. And what it is, it's a land deed. So now when we sign a lease for a house, it's very simple.
We get a document.
We get a document, and we get photocopies and faxes. Back then, if you gave enough money to the king, in this case, Charles VI of Spain, you would get this fancy document. Okay, let me show you the various parts here. First of all, it came in this beautiful cover, like a box. This indentation.
This is like leather, right?
It's leather, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and the back is suede. This was the silver seal, the container for the king's seal. That's wax. That's saying it's official. It has my seal. And this is all beautiful fabric, which has faded through the years, inlay and lace inlay, gold leaf.
Gold leaf there.
Absolutely beautiful, real gold. And then the pages are here. Go ahead and feel them. They have an interesting feel. That's sheepskin.
Wow.
And then it's all handwritten and written with gold. So we know that this person really contributed quite a bit to the king, either the causes or during a war, when you get something this fancy.
So the king was very happy with the person.
The king was very
he gave
happy.
this to.
It could also be that the person commissioned one of these for themselves and paid for it and were happy to show their wealth. And when you visited the family or you went to the chapel, this would have been very prominently displayed. Everyone would know that you were a person of great importance and wealth.
What year was this, more or less?
This is 1782.
Wow. Well, thank you so much,
Oh,
Christina.
you're very welcome.
It's so exciting to see all these
Come
things.
back.
And it's right here in Coral Gables. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to really view not only Coral Gables history, but just history in general from different parts of the world. For more information on any of the items that you saw here, or if you'd like to view some of the beautiful books and other materials that are available, you can go online to www.library.miami.edu/special collections. Or if you'd like to visit this in person, which I recommend anyone to do, you can actually call 305-284-3247. And when we return, we're going to show you a special school that's just for seniors. We'll be right back.